Hi guys, so I am Destiny and I decided to do my research paper on an argumentative topic, and I focused on diets, specifically veganism. And I decided to do this paper because I'm going to the nursing field and I wanted to have some type of information and knowledge that I could pertain to my future patients. And I am a big advocate of natural treatment, so going towards food choice or lifestyle changes instead of resorting to pharmaceutical intervention right off the bat. Because I believe what we put into our bodies plays such an important role in how we transfer those nutrients and that food source into energy. And so I decided to focus on veganism because it totally eliminates any animal products, so beef, poultry, fish, dairy products, eggs. It really focuses on vegetables, fruits, beans, whole grains, nuts, seeds. So it's really eliminating any type of allergens or things that might irritate or disrupt the system. Very easily digestible meals with very high concentrations of vitamins and minerals. So this diet can be tracked back to 500 BCE with Pythagoras and Siddhartha Gautama, which were both very pivotal thinkers of their times. And veganism was eventually termed in 1944. So, health problems are not unknown in the American healthcare system. We are a country filled with chronic diseases such as obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, etc. So I really wanted to see what kind of role diet could play into decreasing these prevalent chronic illnesses. So with obesity, about 39% of the population suffers from this, and with veganism, the immediate weight loss is very apparent. They say in a week, you should expect to lose a pound every week. This is because vegetables are a lot lower calories than the processed, sugary, and high-calorie meals that we're subjected to in usual normal life. Diabetes, type 1 and type 2, insulin sensitivity and the way one's body processes insulin and uses it was very effectively improved throughout all of the studies that I had seen. It showed that HbA1c levels were improved, and 43% of the participants were able to reduce their medication once going on a low-fat vegan diet compared to the control group that was just on whatever diet that they were comfortable with. Cardiovascular disease, since that is the #1 killer in the world, had quite a few studies done. The most memorable one that I found was over a 32-year period from 1980 to 2012, and it included over 100,000 participants, men and women from ages 30 to about 70, and they were evaluated for their diets, their lifestyles, and anybody with any pre-existing conditions or history of cancer, obesity, any kind of chronic illness, or anybody with any type of more than one problematic lifestyle habit, such as excessive drinking or being overweight, smoking, were eliminated from the study. So these were all healthy individuals as to the best of their knowledge. And at the end of the study, the people that had died were separated into two groups based on their diets, and one was people that got their protein from animal sources and those who got their protein from plant-based sources. So at the end of the study, it showed that cardiovascular deaths was significantly lower in the vegan plant-based diet experimental group, and even some stigmas related to cardiovascular problems, such as eating nuts, which are very high in fat and protein, and how that has been said to correlate to heart disease, was kind of disproved because the people on the vegan diet consume very high amounts of nuts for their protein, and showed significantly lower rates of cardiovascular death and just death in general. Red meat, of course, showed the highest amount of death records in the data. Another study done by Dean Ornish, he formed a treatment plan surrounding lifestyle changes such as the low-fat vegan diet, light exercise, yoga, and meditation, and tracked the improvements that were found throughout his patients. And it showed that 500 genes that were associated with cardiovascular disease, diabetes, lots of chronic illnesses were turned off, and genes that supported denying these types of genes from turning on were turned on. Also, Elizabeth Blackburn was part of the study, and her focus of the study was on genes and their compositions, and the end of genes are called telomeres, and every time a cell replicates, these telomeres become shorter and shorter, and then telomerase will come in and help build these back up so our cells stay healthy and they don't die. But as they replicate, these telomeres will become smaller and smaller. If telomerase doesn't intervene, then they die, and thus our body starts to die. So, and it leaves us more prone to illnesses. So after her study, it showed that telomerase activity increased by 30%, which would correlate a low-fat vegan diet along with some moderate exercise and healthy lifestyle habits to longer life, along with blue zones, which are areas in the world that have seen people living the longest lives, were studied, and all of them had the same diet, which was veganism, mainly focusing on beans, rices, soy products, and occasional fish. So the counter argument to veganism would be a lot of concerns regarding vitamin deficiencies like vitamin D, vitamin B12, or calcium. Can all be supplemented if needed. Also, protein was another area of concern, but actually some vegetables such as spinach, cabbage, nuts, and tomato juice actually have higher, that's for iron. Iron with spinach, cabbage, nuts, and tomato juice actually have higher concentrations than that of meat sources. But protein, the same amount of protein found in different animal products can be found in the same amounts, adequate amounts for daily intake for rice, beans, tofu, hummus, etc. Also, a study that kind of backs this up even more was the Triple Ironman, which is a triathlon, which is swimming, running, and biking, but they had to do it 3 times, it showed that people that were on vegan diets and people that were on animal source diets, they competed just as well. And actually, those on the vegan diet used used oxygen better than those that were on the animal, that allowed animal products in their diets. So also I looked into the financial impact, and of the $3 trillion used on healthcare in our society, 75% was allocated towards chronic illness. And Dr. Ornish also did a study with his treatment plan, and it showed that 50% less costs were used for those that were on the low-fat vegan diet. Of course, the environmental impact, a quote done by PETA says that 7 football fields worth of land is bulldozed every minute to create more room for farmed animals and the crops that feed them. So the environmental impact, the natural land resources will be definitely impacted quite severely, along with feed and water to supply these animals with, for example, a pig would need 500 pounds of feed in order to harvest its adequate amount of meat, along with animals consume the highest amount of water in the United States. Along with the atmosphere, the amount of CO2 produced from the animal harvesting industry is abundant. It actually, to harvest 2 pounds of beef is equal to driving a car for 3 hours. And the United States Environmental Protection Agency actually showed that manure runoff was the #1 cause to water pollution. And of course, the treatment of these animals is very poor. They're being artificially injected with hormones. Disease is very highly prevalent, and they're living in confined spaces, usually leading to death. So, in all, veganism is obviously not an easy diet choice to change your whole life to. Eliminating all types of animal products is something that can be a very hard concept, especially since food is such a close to heart thing for our existence. So, but with veganism, you know that what you're doing is helping your body, reducing any type of health risks that may run in your family or that may possibly come up. You're helping the environment by reducing CO2 production, by advocating for animal protection and their treatment. You're also lowering healthcare costs and possibly improving your longevity. So, in all, I would just like to conclude that it may be difficult, but the benefits that go along with it, they can't be ignored and are worth giving a shot. Thank you.